everyone for your patience. We're gonna go ahead and get started and call this meeting to order at 6:11 PM. And this is the August 7th, Community Advisory Council meeting. I'm, Lorena Barrera, representing District 3.
Nancy Thunderton, District 5.
I'm John Alden, I'm the Director of ILO.
District 3. George Bonasquin, District 4.
Hi, everyone. David Jones, District 2. I go by Casey. Feel free to use that if you like.
Um,
District 4.
Imelda Montaño, Distrito 5. Five.
Sean Jones, Sheriff's Office.
Nathan Solomon, District 1.
Sylvia with the ILR.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 2, approval of the June.
Rob,
You're up.
attending on Zoom.
Robin, we can't hear you, you're muted. And keep in mind that since you're attending by Zoom, your ability to participate is going to be different.
Keep
in mind- Anyway, I'm Robin Jers from District 1, but I didn't hear what John said I should keep in mind.
Oh, well,
Because you're attending via Zoom, unless you're part of the exception, I forgot what it's called.
Lizette made her a panelist for the meeting so that she could talk.
right. that's
Right,
not
but
what
there's
we're
like
getting.
legal
Yes, no.
requirements, that allow her to participate, and, I don't know if that your reasoning falls under that, or if you're just unable to attend.
No, I had plans to be away and,
Oh, correct, correct. I forgot about that. So then you'd have to participate as a member of the public, so we won't be calling on you for votes or anything, but you could speak during the public comment time on each item when it's called. Thanks for being, on Zoom while you're away. Okay, so we'll move on to item 2. Approval of the June 5th meeting minutes and April 15th, special meeting minutes. Did everybody get a chance to look at them? Are there any comments or questions from CAC members? Any public comment for the draft minutes that were published with the agenda packet? No. Okay. I don't see any in the room, so we'll bring it back to the CAC. If there aren't any changes, then we can take a motion to approve both sets at the same time with a single motion if we like to do it that way.
Move to approve.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Casey. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Thank you. The motion carries. Moving on to item 3, openings and appointments. We will start with introductions and we'll go with John Azevedo and then we'll go with Imelda Martinez de Montano. You want to introduce yourself to the group?
Sure. John Azevedo, I know this really well, I just wrote my bio, but, new obviously to the group, lifelong resident of Sonoma County, and just very happy to be here and, be part of this group. Thank you.
Thank you. Imelda, si quiere, presentar al grupo.
Sí, en inglés. Es
Ah.
que no tengo la información no me sirvió el.
Como se sienta más a gusto y Silvia va a traducir lo que usted diga.
Yo soy Imelda Montaño y vengo del Distrito 5 y me siento muy contenta de estar aquí en la mesa de.
My name is Imelda Montaño. I'm from District 2 and 5. Sorry. And I feel very happy being here with the CAC.
Thank you. ¿Algo más?
No.
Okay, gracias. Bienvenida and welcome, John. We still have a vacancy in District 2, so if anyone knows anyone interested in applying, please let them know to contact their supervisor. Moving on to item 4, correspondence items. I didn't check my email before I got here, but, Nancy informed me that we received, correspondence from John Duffy and oh, sorry. Sorry, Jim, if you hear this recording, I meant to say it correctly. Jim Duffy, and I'll read what he wrote. He wrote, "Dear CAC members, I cannot make it to your meeting tonight to bring this up, but I am hoping you can take action on this item either individually or as a group. It appears the Sonoma County Gazette just published an article about the Ioleros and Sonoma County Sheriff's Office court case to enforce Iolero's subpoena for a whistleblower investigation. In that article, they include this statement, which is factually incorrect. According to the county's guidelines, whistleblower complaints should typically be referred to the Internal Affairs Unit within the Sonoma County Sheriff's Office for an administrative investigation. Once Internal Affairs completes its investigation, the case is sent to Iolero for an audit. In fact, both Measure P and the implementing agreements with the Sonoma County Sheriff's Office and unions allow Iolero to conduct the investigation of such a complaint. I am told the publication has been made aware of the error, has been provided the source materials pointing out the error, and yet refuses to correct the misinformation. Thank you all for your hard work and for considering my request. Respectfully, Jim Duffy, not John. And that's the only correspondence that we received related to CAC business. Moving on to the director's report, and I'll turn it over to John.
Well, a few things. We are, as we discussed earlier, trying to provide more robust translation services into Spanish and back from Spanish to English at our meetings. So those of you who are listening to this on Zoom, are pretty confident, are able to hear the translation being provided by Ricardo Ibarra. Thank you, Ricardo, for doing that. If anybody on Zoom tonight who's trying to listen to that Spanish language channel has trouble hearing it, let us know, so we can use that feedback to improve the service. But on our end, it looks like that's working fine. One thing that did not work tonight is that we also have headsets that are supposed to carry that channel for people who are here in the meeting in person. And for reasons that remain a mystery this evening, those aren't working. Used those quite a bit this week, tested them out, they work fine, but they're not working tonight. So apologies for not being able to have the headsets. That said, we found a workaround, which is working a little bit tonight, which is if one needs to hear the Spanish version, you can log into the Zoom meeting on a phone and listen on a headset of your own here in the meeting. And I suppose that's better than not having any translation. But we're going to keep working on that so we can provide headsets next time, so we can bring fun. So thank you for bearing with us as we are working on that. We just had the end of the fiscal year. And so that brings a couple things. One was, we didn't have a meeting in July, so I can tell you a little bit about how the budget process went for us. We did get a temporary position made permanent, and we also got a new position at Iolero, which is going to be into a chief of staff. It's called Chief Deputy Auditor. And that position is now part of our budget. It's not an increase necessarily in our funding. We rearranged some of the ways that we're spending our existing funding, but created a new position for a new hire. So this fall, we'll be working on recruiting applicants and going through an interview process to see who would be a good fit there. And the idea is that that person would be a fourth auditor on top of the other three auditors that we already have. And then that person would be supervising and managing the other auditors too. So it's one of our earlier mid-level managers. We only have a couple other people that even have the right job classification to be mid-level managers, and only one of them has a subordinate right now. So that'll help us, I think, be a more efficient agency. So we're looking forward to that, and I appreciated the help of the county executive. Christina Rivera, and also the board of supervisors in approving those changes to our budgeting. And a big reason that was possible was because Measure B gives us a guaranteed floor of funding. So we had funding to work with to make that happen. And so really big thank you to everybody out there in the public who worked on the before Measure B, made that part of our foundation here at ILR. It's been much harder to figure out how to create this new position if we didn't have that funding. We're working on an annual report. We have been trying to key those to the fiscal year, so ours is almost drafted. And then we'll go through a process of showing the sheriff's office and getting it to print. So I'm anticipating that probably in October thereabouts, that'll be ready to be public. And so we're not going to talk about that here at the CAC meeting in October or November, and at a board of supervisors meeting around the same time. Last year, we did a short town hall talking about the annual report and fielding questions from people, which is a little hard to do at a meeting like this because there's other business for the CAC to do. So I think we'll shoot to do one of those town halls as well in the fall, maybe after the other appearances we just talked about at the CAC and with the board, and see what kinds of questions we get and dig into the report in a little more detail than we would here at the board of supervisors. We also have a piece you probably have seen this a little bit in the news. We have a whistleblower case we've been investigating. I can't really say anything about it because of the nature of these investigations, but we put together some subpoenas from ILRO and sent them to the sheriff's office, looking for some information and some witnesses to talk to about that case. We've investigated further. And the sheriff's office has indicated that they think maybe we don't have the ability to do that anymore. So the foundation of that case is such that maybe in that particular case, we shouldn't be able to ask that question, or that maybe the procedure for handling whistleblower cases should be different than we think it is. There's a lot of different conversations we're having there. And so now we're in the local Sonoma County Superior Court, asking for a judge to give us some guidance about how to resolve this, because our first whistleblower case and really have a difference in opinion about how to handle it. So I'm looking forward to getting some guidance from the courts about how we should and shouldn't do those kinds of cases, and let you know more when we hear back from the courts.
Is there a date for hearing that?
Well, we've been given a date in early September, but we all just got that date, and as the attorneys know, that doesn't necessarily mean that date sticks. So I don't yet know if that's going to still end up being the decision date.
So is there potential for live testimony at a hearing, or is it just gonna be determined on the papers?
I don't have the answer to that question right now. So that's what I've got for my report. Thanks again for your patience with the translation challenge we're having tonight.
Thank you, John. Would you mind giving just a brief update on NACOL and if anyone signed up
Sure.
to attend?
We did have a number of people sign up to attend. The early registration deadline is already passed, so I think we have been communicating clearly with the CAC members that, you know, we needed people to get back to us a while ago if they're interested in going. And we have roughly maybe half the CAC that are interested in going. We'll be able to take all of them and our ILRO staff. The conference this year is in Tucson, Arizona. It lasts for just under a week or so. Most of us will be gone for the whole week. Like there's like some of us, for example, are going to help set up and take down the conference. I'll be there a little early and a little late, so I'm not doing some of that work. So basically we'll have a week where ILRO's offices won't be open because we'll all be at this conference. And that's in October. So looking forward to that.
Thank you. Any questions for John?
I have a question. You said that the court had ordered a hearing date or set a hearing date. Have you received any pleadings from the sheriff's department or the union?
No, the most recent word we got back from the court was setting dates in late August for parties to exchange papers and hearing date in early September. But any one of those parties could ask for slightly different dates, so that is common in these kinds of cases, so I can't guarantee it'll be done by then. In any event, it's certainly that stage of litigation will not be finished by our next COC meeting. So next time I see you, I won't have a whole lot new to tell you, other than maybe the dates you just asked about. And perhaps we might have a decision the meeting after that, and so which you probably will read about in the media already. So we'll keep you posted about all of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I feel like it's been so long since we did a meeting. Is there public comment on John's report? No? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 6, the sheriff's liaison report.
Thanks, Lorena. Last time we met, I did my best to answer questions about a hunger strike at MEDF. There were some lingering questions out there that were for me, beating up and answering something to me about.
Could you speak up just a little bit? I'm
Yeah,
having trouble hearing,
sorry.
and I don't have my phone to turn my.
There's some
hearing
follow-up
aids up.
questions regarding the incarcerated person hunger strike. Sergeant Isega, who works in detention, has agreed to attend via Zoom and follow up like with those questions, so I'm hoping she's on there. And she should be able to answer those. So I don't know if you want those now.
Is she there?
All right. So,
What's that?
would it be,
I can't read that. Is it Isega?
Jaicega?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Did. Yeah, did any state members have any, questions, follow-up questions from the hunger strike report that was provided last time?
I sent Sean a series of questions that came from the public after the meeting. And I think those are the ones that you're talking about that she was gonna be able to answer or not.
Yeah, if she's allowed to talk here, I think she might be able to answer
That's
this.
great.
Yes, go ahead, if you're able to.
Our hand raised.
There.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, hi. So some of the questions that were asked were why the hunger strike happened. There was actually 2 hunger strikes. One happened in March of 2023. It lasted from 3/23 to 4/1. And some of the reasons for the hunger strike were that they wanted more out of cell activity time. They wanted more access to tablets that we have in here. And there was requests for the mail to be delivered faster. And then, of course, there was a concern. They believed that the commissary prices were too high and they wanted free phone calls. So that was the first hunger strike. The second hunger strike happened May 22nd of 2024, and it lasted from the 22nd to the 31st. And there were a lot of the same questions again. It was in regards to commissary prices, and also lockdown times for a concern for quarantine status impacting their out of cell time.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions related to any of that?
So I guess, Nancy, if you sent the questions,
And I don't have them because I don't have mine,
I have
but she has them because they were from her originally. So maybe if you bring it up here, Algina, I can do it.
I can go on if you want me to. I do have the questions here. So
Yes, please, if you wouldn't mind doing that,
Sure.
you could read each question and then provide your response. And Sean, thank you for coordinating to have someone address the CAC on those questions.
Well,
So
Go ahead.
the next question was, who is the oversight body locally on grievances and who follows up on the grievances? And who would do audits such as spot checking for those grievances that have been submitted. So in our facility, our grievance process is designed as a multi-step process, which incorporates multiple levels of authority to ensure all grievances are investigated thoroughly. The multi-step process ensures that the members are assessing the grievance at every level. So the first level, it's evaluated by the deputy, and then it escalates to a sergeant. And then from the sergeant, it goes to one of our disciplinary grievance deputies. And then after that, it goes to a lieutenant. And at each level that it escalates to, the prior response is evaluated for appropriateness as well. So in addition to all of the above steps, all the grievances that reach the DGO level are also reviewed by the program sergeant, and that's myself. And we track all of the grievances by categories and by location in an effort to highlight any themes or trends that need to be addressed. And we have a formal grievance process that's defined and provided to all of the incarcerated population. Grievances are in all of the modules, so they can submit them. All they have to do is pick up a form and fill it out and turn it in. And then the next question was, how do we know that there's not retaliation when an incarcerated person files a grievance? And so with the multi-step process, it provides a lot more transparency at each step, so we can see the responses that they're receiving. And you also have the opportunity, the incarcerated person can turn the grievance into anybody, and they don't have to turn it in to the person that they're grieving. So it doesn't, through the disciplinary review process, the person that's actually responding isn't the person that they're grieving. And then having it evaluated by a third-party person on multiple levels makes it a little bit more, provides a little bit more transparency. And then the next question was if there was any demands requested that were the same, and there was. Commissary pricing has been a consistent complaint, and OCA time as well has been a concern. And in regards to the fasting for the hunger strike, so medical was never required. However, we provide medical every 48 hours per our policy. Everybody is offered, and it's documented whether they choose to receive any kind of medical treatment or deny it. And the hunger strikes at all of the steps during the process, though they may not be eating the jail provided food, everybody has access to commissary, and we don't restrict that. So they have the opportunity to eat the food that they've purchased as well, and that's documented generally when they are still consuming food. And that was the questions.
Thank you so much. Any additional questions on the responses we received? No? Okay, is there anything else to your report, Sean?
I know, sorry, figured better to bring the sergeant, that's what she's talking about, and we can try and bubble my way through that, so, that's all I got.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on the sheriff's report? No? Go ahead, Robin.
Well, I just wondered, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
And we have to give you the 3 minutes and then you
That's
won't
fine.
give us, okay.
I have a question. How were the grievances addressed? But I guess there's no response to my question, but that's a question that I continue to have.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Or your question. We'll try to get an answer to Robin if possible, or, what's her name?
Jennifer, I say.
Jennifer Isiega, if you wouldn't mind just answering that really quick, please.
Yes.
And I won't have follow-up questions.
Yeah, so all of the grievances received a written response and a written response at every level. So there were different answers for different issues. And are you asking for specifically in regards to the hunger strike or grievances in general? There was, so our commissary, as explained, is a contractually negotiated rate. So we don't have the ability to change that pricing. And that was communicated at that time. And any other responses for the other things that they asked, if it was something that we could address, we did. We have since purchased 200 more tablets. We have over 500 tablets now functioning inside the facility, and that was one of the things that they had asked for. And the tablets have over 10,000 hours of programming on them. So we were able to provide that. And we are continuously looking at our out of cell activity time, trying to increase the time that they're out of their cell. Those were the two primary things, and those were the answers for them.
Thank you so much. Okay, we'll close out this item, and we don't have any presentations for item 7, so we'll move on to item 8, which is discussion and possible action regarding Iolero's issued subpoena to the Sonoma County Sheriff's Department related to a whistleblower complaint, and I'll turn it over to my colleagues to present.
Casey, you want me to start,
Sure, go ahead.
since I started this? I thought that it was important for the CAC to offer some response to the issue of litigation regarding this enforcement of the subpoena for the whistleblower complaints. And one of the, as part of the community engagement subcommittee, I thought that engaging, getting out more information about it and having the CAC adopt a position was important. And so Casey, I turned to Casey because I didn't have time to do it myself. I didn't have the energy also to do it myself. I asked him if he would help with drafting a piece, which is in your packet. And that piece, if it is approved by you, I would ask that we submit it to you as Democrat as opposed to home article. And that we also use this statement and the content of the statement to issue a press release to other media outlets, saying what the CAC's position is regarding this, the enforcement of these subpoenas and the legitimacy of the subpoenas, the legitimacy of whistleblower complaints being investigated by IRL. So that's sort of the short of it.
Among the things that I think we should consider is if this language is adopted, then what should be done with it? Because there are a number of different approaches that could be taken, or they could all be taken. For example, it could be styled as an open letter to Board of Supervisors, Sheriff, Sonoma County Sheriff. If styled an open letter, you'd have to decide to whom it was directed. And then how it would be disseminated, sent directly to the recipients, sent to CC to whom. I think that should be part of the discussion that we have about this. I don't think it's a bad idea if we read it in this public meeting right now, so that everybody knows, well, right? So that everybody hears the language, we make sure that everybody's got it, whoever's on Zoom hears it, etc. Sorry,
It's not translated, so you should read it.
yeah, okay.
Read it.
It wasn't translated, it's not in Spanish.
Well, are you looking at the English?
There is a Spanish language.
The Spanish.
Oh, there's my apologies.
That's okay.
But you can
So
go ahead,
then,
Casey.
so then it was translated in the Spanish packet?
You could still read it into the record.
Yeah, I will, it's good to clear that up.
Was that issue?
I believe that it was, and I'm just checking here to see if I see that. I do see it in Spanish, in the Spanish version of the
Great.
agenda, which matches my recollection about
Great.
how it appeared online. too.
It's a good question, good issue to raise. So I'll read it kind of slowly, right, since somebody's translating it right now as I speak. It reads like this, Sonoma County voters overwhelmingly adopted Measure P in November 2020. With that vote, our community expressly recognized that the sheriff is an independent elected law enforcement official given extraordinary authority, including search, arrest, and use of deadly force. Simultaneously and purposefully, the voters exercise their own authority to institute powerful civilian oversight of the sheriff and his employees, including the power to investigate, subpoena otherwise confidential records, and report to the public on the sheriff's conduct and operations. The civilian oversight authorized by Measure P is now being challenged by the sheriff and the Deputy Sheriff's Association. John Alden, the director of the Watchdog Agency, Independent Office of Law Enforcement Review and Outreach, IOLARO, has been compelled to bring a lawsuit in Sonoma County, Sonoma Superior Court to enforce the voter's intent that he effectively investigate whistleblower claims of wrongdoing inside the sheriff's department. As Director Alden has noted, whistleblower claims coming from inside the department can uncover misconduct which would otherwise never be known to the public. The sheriff and DSA seek to block the investigation largely by claiming that IOLARO has no jurisdiction over the elected sheriff and that IOLARO's express subpoena power somehow does not reach complaints against the department brought by whistleblowers, despite Measure P's clear language authorizing such subpoenas. These claims are sadly unsurprising efforts to thwart the broad investigatory powers the voters intended. This is not the first time DSA has sought to curb IOLARO's authority. In previous litigation, DSA and the other Deputies Association, SCLEA, unsuccessfully tried to prevent Measure P from taking effect altogether. As members of the IOLARO Community Advisory Council, we volunteer to increase public information and visibility into the operations of the Sheriff's Department and into the watchdog oversight provided by IOLARO. As a body, we strongly support Director Alden in his efforts to fairly and thoroughly investigate allegations of wrongdoing from within the Sheriff's Department. Mr. Alden can and should assertively pursue the investigation and oversight authority the voters created and intended to be fully exercised. We are disappointed that the sheriff and the DSA are attempting to use legal technicalities to limit the full investigation and sunshine of sheriff operations which our community demands. We urge them to rethink their opposition and to welcome the oversight the voters who employ them so clearly intended.
Thank you, Casey. So from the intent or the ideas that you have, you and Nancy are to, for us to vote to have this submitted to the Press Democrat as a open letter.
Well, actually, what I'd like first is for the CAC to vote to approve the statement. And then we should discuss how to publicize the statement perhaps through poster, you know, and the options are things like Casey was talking about open letters to the board of supervisors, to the sheriff, the close to home, press release to other media outlets, that kind of thing, publishing it on our website, publishing it in our newsletter,
Okay.
Yeah, so.
sending it to other organizations.
So can I start by saying, yeah, I think that first of all, if anybody has any, response either overall or to any specific portion or line or any sentiment that is expressed there that feels like a sticking point, we should get to that, but I think it's important to ask this question first, which is, Mr. Alden, is there anything in here that you believe is misstated or mischaracterized in the language that has been presented here?
No, I had a chance to read the draft and I thought it was accurate and, the only other thing I think I would say is, I am mindful that Measure P says that the CAC and ILRO are separate bodies, so neither one of us directs the other, and so I, always appreciate support, but I also don't want to be perceived as pushing you in the direction of.
No, and I think Nancy, who initially contacted me about this effort, can speak to that concern. I can certainly say I haven't had any communication with John about this. There certainly wasn't any request to state this. This was a very organic response to my review of the litigation documents that I saw and the letter exchanges that defined the dispute and the refusal to provide the discovery or investigatory materials that ILRA sought. Having reviewed that, my responses and my sense of the dispute are set forth in this document and don't have anything to do with any communication with John.
Okay, thank you. Before we take changes or anything like that, we'll start with just questions that CAC members have regarding the letter or anything like that. No comments, just questions. Then we'll open it up to public comment, take comment from the public on the content of the letter and if you have ideas on what we should do with it. And then we'll bring it back to the CAC for comments on changes and anything else that you guys want to talk about. So we'll start with questions. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, seeing none, then we'll open this
I have a
item.
question. I have a question.
Yeah,
So, I think it's well written. Casey's done a great job with this. But he mentioned that there is like responsive documents, letters from the sheriff's department and other documents. Did we get a chance to see those in previous meetings, or the only document I've seen is the one here, that's the.
Casey, do you wanna tell us, are you talking about the letters of agreement or?
No, so pursuant to my reading of the letter exchanges between counsel for ILRO, counsel for the Deputy Sheriff's Association, and counsel for the sheriff, there were exchanges of views with regard to ILRO's authority to investigate a whistleblower complaint as opposed to other kinds of complaints from other sources. Right, that's among the legal issues that appears to me to be subject to the litigation. There's also some assertion about whether ILRO actually has authority over the sheriff himself, the elected official, as opposed to the sheriff's department employees and the like. That appears to be a part of what is at issue here as well. I mean. So those are the letters that I saw and I requested them from Iolera. And they sent them to me and I read them. And they informed my understanding of what the dispute actually is.
Can I add, they're all referred to in this, in the pleading that you have in front of you. The letters that Casey is talking about are the letters that are referred to in this pleading.
Yeah, and I should add that, you know, as is often the case in court cases, there's a lot of paper with the court. And so what you see in this agenda packet is a portion of that material, you might call it the lead document that frames everything else. And then we've gotten from, you know, a variety of requesters, some other materials that were also filed with the court, including the letters that Casey was describing. And one of the things we had to do early in the process was seek guidance from the court about which of those materials could and could not be released to the public. And we've now gotten that, so as various people have called us and asked, well, what can I see and what can I not see? We've been trying to provide people with the same material that's currently available in the court file whenever they ask. So, you know, all the things that Casey's talking about are things that all the parties in the case have seen, so they've been shared with UTSA and Sheriff's Office, and that are available to the public if you go down to the courthouse and look through the file. And several media outlets have asked for those too. So that said, it was so much material that we didn't include it all in the packet, and I hope that's not an inconvenience.
No, that's fine. I just was wondering where all the other documents were. No.
Yeah. Happy to share those with anyone who's interested, and they're publicly available. Too.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we'll open it up to public comment and everyone gets 3 minutes. We'll start with individuals in the room. Is there any public comment on this item?
So I think it's great that you're putting together the letter, and I would encourage that it goes to the board of supervisors. And I'd also question whether or not we should maybe, you might want to consider going to the state legislature level, because the subpoena power is specifically put in place at that level, because it didn't exist before, for the board to allow other authorities to get that subpoena, to execute a subpoena against the sheriff's office. And this is a direct challenge to that. So just, I don't know if that would be helpful at all. But definitely the board of supervisors, since they're the, you know, have a point of view to provide this public service to the community. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Any other comments? We'll go first and then.
I just want to thank Nancy for deciding to do this, and Casey for writing it up, and it sounds great to me. And I agree that it should go to the supervisors, but I do also think that it should go out to all the local newspapers, not just the president. Yes, of course, it has to be limited in words, you know, goes to the president, if you think it's gonna be a close one. So it might have to be that.
Oh, it's short enough.
It is, okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to third what they said. I think this is great. I love it. One little thing you might want the CSC acronym, since you have the DSA acronym and the IOLERO acronym. But yes, this is fantastic. And I agree.
Thank you. Anyone on Zoom have any comments? We'll start with you, Robin.
I thought the letter was really excellent, and I appreciate Casey's what he brings to it as a lawyer in terms of being able to write something like this. I wanted to just say that if I agree this should go out to the public, and it should go out way beyond just the Press Democrat. But I think it's probably important at the beginning of the letter to define a little bit more clearly. I think it may be, you do that in paragraph 2, you define what's happening. And I just think to capture people's interest, you want to define what's happening right at the beginning of the letter to capture people's interest and to, yeah, and to get them to read the rest of it. That's just my thought. Thanks.
Thank you. I have an appointment to update my prescription because I cannot see what that says. There's somebody with that hand raised.
It says Josette Rosie.
Yeah, if you can let
Mhm.
Josette speak, please. And Josette, you have 3 minutes.
Hi, yes, what Robin said is very important, that you define what's happening. And also, I knew nothing about this unless I was on your mailing list. Those of us that live in the Sonoma Valley and who are not subscribing to the Press Democrat, we don't even know what's going on. This came as a complete surprise to me in following, the intent of Measure P and the actions, what's going on with Iolero. So I think it's important that the local press here in District 1 in the Valley know, the Index Tribune and the Sun also be in the loop on this, because that's what the local people read, and that's where it goes to Facebook. And also, as a member of Wake Up Sonoma, which we're involved in a lot of equal rights issues, I think this will be of interest to our thousands of members on our Facebook page. So I think it really needs more outreach. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And it looks like we don't have any other hands raised, so we'll close public comment and bring it back to the CAC for discussion. Who'd like to start?
I'd like to make just, 2 edits. One is in paragraph 2, to lawsuit in Sonoma County Superior Court. We missed that, and I appreciate whoever said we should use the SCLEA, the full name. I think we should do that with Sonoma County Law Enforcement Association. I'll figure it out before we finalize this. I also like Robin's suggestion that we start this with an opening sentence that says what we're talking about before we jump into it, and that can be easily done. And I think that there's enough language in here already. I don't think we need to vote on the actual language. I think we can have a sense of it using what's the content that's already in here. I would hope that I hope that people will approve it, and I think that all of these ideas about how to get it out are really great.
Okay. The only comment that I had was if we might consider, instead of writing sheriff's department, to say sheriff's office as is written in the certification of facts that was presented to the court. So it's consistent. That was it. I had also thought of the county and
Okay.
change visibility to transparency, but I also like how it's worded with information and visibility in the last paragraph, so I'm not too crazy about that. But I think you guys did a great job. Thank you for initiating it. Casey, thank you for writing it. You did our last letter that was presented, and you're a great writer, so I think it was really good that you took the lead on this. So thank you.
Josette's point too, I think is important. I think we should notify like all the little pockets, media pockets, so like Petaluma, Sonoma, up the coast. Because a lot of them don't get the Press Democrat, so that's a really good point, right? Like, we should be reaching out to those.
So what's great is that I went to the county's media training, and one of the things I got was a complete list of all of the contacts and all of the media outlets that they use, so we've got that already. Perfect.
You know, I might add there that as a general rule, all of those same email addresses that Nancy was talking about in the media list are on our CAC agenda, you know, newsletters, the newsletters we send out from Iolero and like. But some kind of personal contact on top of just sending an email is usually necessary if you want coverage for anything. Because all of those outlets get all kinds of things by email. And just like you and I are the one, are now, it's not likely to generate a result. So if there are particular outlets who are especially interested in trying to get some coverage from, I don't know, Paul, it's probably a good idea.
The question I had too was, I know one of the claims that's being made by the sheriff has to do with the constitutional rights he has as an elected sheriff. So maybe reaching out to someone within Sacramento might be worth it, like some Sacramento press, because that is kind of a state level claim he's making. That's it. Any more?
I like the comments that were brought up from the public as well. And I think once we have a final letter, if we could send it out via our newsletter and put it on our Facebook page and then have everybody share it and individually send to our supervisors. Because I do think it would look bad if we asked like Iolero staff to send it on our behalf to the supervisors and all of that. I think we should individually do that once we have a final version.
Oh,
Yeah, I think we should do our parts. Not.
Well, I would like, you know, we do have a community engagement subcommittee and perhaps I can volunteer the members of that committee. I'm looking at you, Robin, and you, Susan, and you're on it too, right, Trevor?
Yeah.
That maybe we could be responsible for the phone follow-up, you know, getting it out and doing some phone follow-up, and we can sort of strategize, maybe during our little sub meeting like tonight, we could strategize about who that would be. You know, who would be important, who would we prioritize?
I would be okay with leaving that up to the community engagement ad hoc subcommittee to decide.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, really what we should determine here is how is this addressed? How is it signed? Right? And then I don't think there's any limitations on how it's disseminated. We can disseminate it in every way that we can imagine disseminating it, including to the publications that have been identified here, down the Sonoma Valley, etc. I mean, as broadly and deeply as we want, right? It's a matter of getting to a document that we think, okay, that's the right document, and that can be disseminated every way we can imagine doing it.
I think signing it with members and then of the Community Advisory Council and listing our names and district would be good. So it's not just our names, everyone's reflected on there.
So what you're thinking about, listing the names of the entirety of the council, the CAC, given that some are not here, we're adopting it as a body, that's effective, no question. But if we're gonna have individuals' names on it, what's the thinking there?
we probably should vote on it.
Darnell's the only one not here, right? Yeah,
There's only one member not here.
or we could just say members, comma, Community Advisory Council, and that's just everyone.
We could sign it, chair and vice chair. And members, we could put your names on it. I mean, I believe me, I'm not trying to run away from this communication in any way. I'm just trying to think of, how do you best present it, right? It's like chair, vice chair, and members of, that sort of thing. And then it seems to me that directing it to the Board of Supervisors and the sheriff is probably, is there any more than that? It doesn't seem like it. That seems like the appropriate places to direct it. And then everybody else is somebody who gets to read it.
What about to the DSA? You know, I mean, you certainly have been involved in the litigation, I mean, in the, you know, in the negotiations over this, they threatened to sue the sheriff if he complies with the subpoenas. And so it seems to me that we ought to address it to them as well.
Agreed.
Well, I like the idea of having the CAC members have their name on it, but if there's someone that doesn't want their name on it, then maybe the option would be put the chair and vice chair's name and then members. But it's pretty powerful if you have like 10 community members, their name on there. I'm okay with it, but I do understand that some people don't want their name on something like that, so maybe we could ask members if they want their name on it, and somebody says, no, I just respect that, and just take all of the names off and just leave the chair and vice chair, otherwise I think it's pretty powerful when you see like 10 names from people throughout the community, or however many people on the CAC. And I trust Nancy and Casey, they're great writers, so I don't think they need to like send us a draft so we can read it. They're great writers, and this is an awesome one.
So I don't think there's anything, so, you know, if there's any concern about, Darnell, or, you know, we didn't hear from Robin on this specific point, but if everybody else is good with having their name on it, I mean, anybody can call Darnell and say, hey, how about it? You know, that's not prevented by the Brown Act.
Do we know whether Darnell is in town or whether his absence is because he's on vacation or anything, or out of
I
country?
don't know where he is, other than he wasn't in town.
I mean, I'm happy to send him an email, a text tomorrow and say, you want to be in this, everybody else is going to sign it if that's what's going to happen. You know, and then you can feel good about actually putting, you know, everybody's individual name on it if everybody wants their name on it.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Cause I do agree with the way George phrased it better. It's more powerful if all of our names are listed. And I feel like they do that in Congress too. Sometimes, you know, you see all of the members and their signatures on something that they feel really strongly about. So I think that's a good way to go about signing it.
Okay.
Um,
Do you wanna do that? Well, I guess we should probably find out whether, we should probably take a vote on whether we approve the content or.
I move that we approve the content of this letter, and then Nancy and Casey will submit it. To the final.
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Any nays? No abstention? Imelda, do you have any comments? I feel like I've forgotten to call you, also John, do you guys have any?
It's a fun first meeting.
Yeah.
You're not required to say something.
Yeah.
You're not sure.
You are.
No, for sure, and I guess my only thing is, being my first meeting, it's kind of a lot to be like, okay, we're signing on to a legal letter going on across the county, it's like, whoa, what's going on, so. So it's a little overwhelming, but, conceptually, I don't disagree with I mean, it's a great letter. I just wish I knew, more about constitutional law, I don't know if, until we know which side is gonna actually come out correct, but assuming that Measure P is written in a way that it addresses all those things, and we are standing solidly on both feet, I'm totally supportive.
Yeah, I mean, I would characterize this letter as saying, we're 100% behind the director of IOLARO in his efforts to interpret the law that was passed by the voters as broadly as it is permitted to be interpreted, and to see the documents that he's seeking to support his investigation. We're all in. And I don't think it's any more complicated than that. It's a lot more words in there, but I think that's what we're saying. You know, we're not saying we're legal experts, we know what the right interpretation of the law is, et cetera. We're saying, hey, the voters want sunshine. Directors going after sunshine and somebody's standing in the way. We're all in behind it. So.
And sorry for putting you guys on the spot. Okay, so we took a vote.
No, yo solo quiero decir si, como también es mi primera junta, pues yo no estoy muy bien, como asociada en todo eso, pues, pero la mayoría de votos estoy de acuerdo.
So, how does this is, I guess, where I asked, so when she speaks, how does everybody else get that?
Well, I'm realizing one disadvantage of the Zoom translation is that people are hearing translation back. And, that Ricardo is doing, and Sylvia, do you feel comfortable translating that, or should I?
No, that's fine.
I was gonna go ahead and just do it.
That's true, you could too.
It's not, so I get kind of shy when it comes to translating, and that's why I don't really do it unless I have to, but basically what, Imelda said, just like John, that it's her first meeting, and she's kind of just observing what's going on, but in regards to the letter and all of us supporting, she's also, in agreement with supporting, as we're doing as well. ¿Está bien? Sí.
Sí, y solo un comentario fuera de todo. Les pido si hablan un poquito más fuerte o un poquito más lento para que él me pueda traducirme.
Okay, and then she just said, if we could speak a little bit louder and a little bit slower so that when she's getting the translation, she could understand better. Okay, gracias y disculpas. Okay, so, now this is in the hands of Casey and Nancy, and,
I do want to have clarity though on,
Yeah.
are we gonna put the names of every member of the CAC on the document? Or not? I don't mind. I just want, we should be clear.
Why don't we just raise our hands if we want to have our names on, and we could, rather than not. It's not a vote, it's just a. And if you're not comfortable with having your name on it, you responsible. Okay. So Casey, assuming that Darnell says yes, then we will put everybody's name on it. If we don't get a response from Darnell or he says no, then no names will go on it except for Lorena and me. Okay?
okay. That's fine. Any other,
Oh, then we did want to, so I think Casey and I will probably entitle this something like open letter to board of supervisors and Sonoma County Sheriff,
And
something
DSA,
like that.
and DSA too. And the DSA too.
And the DSA, right,
Sounds good.
okay.
okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to item 9, which is, we're going to adjourn for ad hoc committees. To meet for a 30, we're gonna do a. Should we still do a 30? Or what? It's 7:15. Do you guys want to do a 30-minute recess or should we shorten it a bit?
So I don't have an ad hoc committee here, so I'm not gonna be able to make great use of that time. There's a couple of conversations I'd have during a short period of time, but I don't need 30 minutes for sure.
20's fine.
Okay, well, we're gonna recess for 20 minutes and then we'll reconvene at 7:35.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask the community people to come up here because I'm tired of moving. I'm sorry.
What do we?
Yeah, so we can Pause.
All right, welcome back, everyone. It's 7:35. So we're reconvening at 7:35 PM, and we're gonna move on to item 11, which is the CAC committee reports. And we'll start with community engagement. Oh, sorry,
One second.
I'll start that over. Okay, so we're reconvening the meeting. I had said 7:35, and we're moving on to item 11 of the agenda, which is CAC committee reports. And this is a part of the meeting where the ad hocs that we were talking about earlier provide reports on the work that they're doing. So we'll start with community engagement.
So, two things. One is that we are working on a kind of manual for how to engage the community. So we're gonna try and come up with some ideas about like how to conduct webinars, how to contact the media, those kinds of things. So that's sort of a project that's one project. Tonight, we were talking to follow up on our conversation about this, you know, the community engagement committee met, we're going to meet again on Friday and figure out who we're going to contact, in the media as a follow-up to emailing this statement. But the statement first is we'll go with an open letter to the Board of Supervisors, the sheriff and DSA. It will also go at that point to the Press Democrat for submission as a close to home article. Well, if it gets published as close to home, well, whether or not it gets published close to home, well, once we know the answer to that, we will then send it out to other media people. And the members of the Community Engagement Committee are going to talk on Friday about how many people were willing to follow up with, as John suggested, and who those people are. That's my report.
Thank you. And just for our new members, to have an idea on what the ad hocs are, I probably should have started that, sorry. Started with that. We started doing these, retreats or strategic planning sessions at the beginning of each calendar year, where we sit and talk about what we've worked on and then get comments and feedback and ideas from members of the public. And then have a discussion on what our goals are for the remainder of the year. And so from our last two retreats, and from ideas from the community, we came up with these topics to create subgroups or ad hocs to work on racial and identity profiling act, community engagement, recruitment and hiring practices and policy recommendations, and this year specifically for canine related policy, and also evictions. So that's why you're seeing those there. And in this part of the agenda, each of the chairs of the ad hoc reports to the entire CAC on what they're working on, and that's it. And you continue to meet outside of our regular meetings, and members of the public have the ability to join the ad hocs as well. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how they're created and what they are. And now we'll, yeah, go ahead.
Community engagement had been a standing committee, and we have turned it into an ad hoc committee, with the idea that it will go project by project and that there will be changing personnel. And the main project that we're working on is this manual. Once that project is done, we sort of resolve that ad hoc, and if there's another community engagement issue that we want to address, we'll start a new ad hoc.
And what Nancy means by it used to be a standing committee, there's these rules from the Brown Act. I don't know if you've had a Brown Act training yet. It's a really confusing and not fun law that all of these advisory bodies and councils and groups of elected officials have to follow in California for kind of transparency with the public. And so if you have an ad hoc, it's a group that works on something specific for a short period of time, like let's say a year. But if you continue to work on the same things for longer than that period, then it becomes a standing committee. And then you have to follow all of the Brown Act rules of publishing agendas, writing minutes, and all of that. So it's a lot of work, but
You can't just get together at Starbucks.
yeah, exactly. And
Okay, good.
with ad hocs, you can't. Okay, so we'll move on to Racial and Identity Profiling Act, and our chair Darnell is not here. Do you wanna
I think you
provide the
should go.
report? Okay, so I always say this because I'm really glad that Rania was hired to help us. She really keeps us on track and knows how to ask questions that help us figure out how to move forward. So we worked on getting our resources and things that we've used, like the Q&A that we provided Sean on the questions that we had related to RIPA, and making sure that that information is now being shared with the public via the website, trying to be more transparent, and she helps us with language and communication and how to send our messages along to ask the right questions on what we're trying to accomplish. We've been discussing what other groups and agencies we want to contact to get an understanding of how they handle RIPA and how they're involved with RIPA. And what
Yeah,
else?
we have some outreach to do, like to the
Yes.
consortium is the one big one. We're also gonna do some outreach with San Rosa Police Department chief and ask him about how they're handling RIPA as well. So we'll get some of that sort of incoming data, and we'll put that in our final report.
Yes. And we don't have any other updates.
That's about it.
Recruitment and hiring practices?
That's me. That's why I wanted you to do the last one, so.
Oh,
So yeah, so recruitment, we are closing in on it. We're trying to finish it by September's meeting. So we had a couple of outstanding items, like basically some demographic data that we were gonna capture from the sheriff's office, which they provided to us. Double check some of their numbers, and that all looks good. I sent you an email with some of the demographic data in the hopes that you could maybe put that in the annual report. That was one of the outputs from one of our last meeting. And then we just need to kind of put together a recommendation based on some of the research that Rania has done about, you know, how the sheriff's office is using some of their more military style imagery with their recruitment and kind of advising against doing that. So that's sort of like big picture where we're at.
Okay.
We had a question over there.
Well, I just wanted to say, when we chose this topic as a priority, it was at a time when the sheriff's department was really understaffed. And they've done a remarkable job actually in staffing. They're almost 100% for their patrol, and they're way up there on their corrections. So what we started to focus on was different than what we had initially planned to focus on, and this issue around the militarization of the sheriff's department and attracting people through those kinds of military imaging is something that became a concern for us.
okay, thank you. Policy recommendations review.
So I'll call us the K-9 policy ad hoc committee. Robin Jurors up there is on the committee, and Carl Tenenbaum who's not here tonight, is also on that committee. I always feel like a little bit of table setting is required for the report to make sense. So for me, this committee sort of got started because in part last year, there were 3 canine dog bite events that were, part of arrests that were reviewed and by Iolero and were part of the annual report. In each of those 3, there were 1 or more policy violations found. And there were also policy recommendations made by Iolero as part of its report. So we sort of put that together with the penal code section, which it is sort of a relatively new requirement, I'll say, by the legislature that comprehensive and specific guidelines, that's the language regarding approved methods and devices for the application of force, be made a part of force policies. In reviewing the canine policy here in Sonoma County, it seemed to have a heck of a lot of discretion in it. And arguably an insufficient amount of comprehensive and specific guidelines. At least that was my own personal sort of working understanding of the document, having reviewed it. So to go now kind of to the end of this process as we understand it, we are imagining the creation of a town hall meeting with a series of presentations, probably the first of which would be our ad hoc committee describing the task. We have met with, we've observed training, canine training of the sheriff's department for several hours, maybe last month, give or take. Met with the 2 sergeants that run that operation. Met with briefly with the outside contractor, who's the canine trainer, and a number of the officers who manage these dogs in the field. We're imagining a town hall with a series of presentations. We're trying to understand who we can have come and present, and we're trying to develop the set of questions / issues that we want them to present on. Okay, because we want to direct them in terms of, here's what we're interested in hearing from you. And we're imagining probably 1 or more of those sergeants who are running the canine program. John Alden down here has offered to make or have some of his personnel make a presentation regarding canine issues as they've been experienced within Iolero. We're imagining third parties. There's been some discussion of I think perhaps a contract auditor who looks at canine uses of force for the Santa Rosa PD. We're imagining perhaps a trainer, the trainer who trains the handlers and the animals. Presentations by all of those people, guided by our requests for that certain issues be addressed. Attended by the public, widely disseminated, etc., public input, public questions and the like. And we imagine coming out the other side of that with our ad hoc committee, developing a set of recommendations to bring to CAC. That's what we're at work on. I think we're hopeful at this point that we can, get that, town hall, first of all, tamed down to something that could actually happen and not the course of a long weekend. Yeah, right, but this is what it's happened, like, this is why it hasn't happened yet, is because getting it right is, if I had had longer, I could have made it shorter, that sort of thing. So, that's the work that we're in, we're imagining that now, I think realistically, hopefully happening in October. Us bringing, recommendations back shortly thereafter to, the entire committee, so. There.
Thank you. And for evictions, George, do you wanna,
Yeah, that's some back to follow, so. Basically, the evictions, I think we met once or twice, and it's my recollection that we were talking about how the sheriff enforces evictions. So when someone's getting evicted out of their home or apartment, it's the sheriff. We're looking at ways to make that like a kinder and gentler process. Maybe that's a better term. And then we're also looking at other cities, I think it was New York, where they have a moratorium on evictions at the end of the year, right around the holidays. But then things kind of fell apart. We missed a few meetings. We were working with legal aid, the attorneys couldn't meet with us, and then Esther, who was the chair, is no longer on the CAC. So I think we're up in the air and maybe we can like pick it up, pause it. So I think I'm gonna jump to racial identity and profiling committee. But the only two members of the evictions were myself and Esther. Esther's not here, so. Maybe we'll pause it until we figure out what the next steps are.
okay, I think that's appropriate. We have a lot of work on our hands, unless anyone wants to join and continue the work of evictions, but we'd be happy to have you on RIPA. And then we have 3 people on RIPA, and I think John was thinking of joining as well. But that puts
Is that
us-
too many?
Well, then you have 5, so you have. So that is a 5.
Our quorum is based on the number of members at the, right now, right? Is that,
Right, which is,
right now we have,
well, I guess, yeah, actually. No, you have, 10 members right now. And so a quorum is 5.
Or I could join the K9. And. Yeah.
okay.
Would be welcome. Absolutely.
And John, you do want to proceed with joining RIPA?
That's okay.
Yeah. And then, Imelda, what, if you have an idea of, what you want to join later on, you can, just contact us and then we'll get you connected with the chair of one of the ad hocs that you choose to join, which cannot be RIPA. It can't be the one on Racial and Identity Profiling Act because we can't have more members. Do you have any questions?
Es obligatorio.
Is it not? Okay.
Porque me gustaría estar nada más por lo pronto.
Okay, she asked if it's required, and for now, she'd like to just kind of observe. And it's not required, is what John responded. Okay, no hay problema. Okay, thanks, everyone. So we'll move on to item 12, open time for public comment. This section is intended for items not appearing on the agenda, but within the subject. We don't do public comment on the, no. But yeah, you can, yeah, sorry. Okay, so this is for matters not appearing on the agenda, but within the subject matter jurisdiction of the CAC. Please state your name and who you represent, and we'll give you 3 minutes. And we'll start, yeah.
Susan Lamont representing me. Is there a limit on the public members who can be,
I don't think so.
yeah, I didn't see it. And I was gonna just simply say that potentially the job of the community engagement, committee could be engaging with community groups and saying, here are the committees that we have. Would anybody like to do this? And it might be a really good way to get people on an eviction schedule.
Yeah, I think that's what we think.
As by finding a couple of them. That's it.
Thank you.
My name is Alcina Horseman, and I just had a little comment. I wasn't sure if our new members knew who Rania was, or if you guys had gotten them up to speed on that.
Norwegian,
But remember, this is public comment, not,
is that your?
not a,
Not,
Not
I'm
a
just,
few precedent.
pointing it out. You
Okay.
can take it or leave it.
yes.
Thank you,
I
sorry.
noticed we heard from it numerous times since I wasn't sure.
Okay, and sorry for,
Okay.
forgetting how to manage the meeting. Barbara, go ahead.
So a couple of things that occurred to me during our break, so that's what the nature of having a break. I was curious how the budget for the lawsuit is gonna, be accounted for, if that is under Tyler's budget, it reduces the amount that Tyler has to do their work, if they're involved in a lawsuit, or if that is under a county budget line item. And then the other thing is, if this thing does go in front of a judge at some point, is there a possibility for the public to listen to that? And if that is the case, it would be nice if you guys publicize that, so that if we're available to do that.
Thank you. Anyone on Zoom who wants to provide comment? Okay, seeing no hands raised, we'll close public comment and the points will be taken, and I think, we can report back on anything at the next meeting. Item 14. Oh wait. Item 13, request for future agenda items. So maybe we'll talk about how the lawsuit's being budgeted for. Does anyone have any items for the next meeting? Well, if something comes up, send it to Dawn, Nancy, and myself. And Lizette. Item 14, CAC announcements. Does anyone have any announcements to provide? Nope, okay. Item 15, is adjournment. Our next meeting is September 4th. And it will be held here at the Finley Community Center starting at 6 p.m. Thank you everyone for your patience tonight. Thank you to the staff for getting us to work. And we will see you all next month. We're adjourned at 7:58 p.m.
Thank you.